Welcome back. Cassie, I'm here again to share with you some more insights on project-based learning. And in the first video, we talked about getting ready for you as professors trying to do something different. Now I want to share something I learned with some bumps in the way. And that's in a PBL, there are actually two journeys that matter a lot. One that you probably already know, the student journey, what they experience, but there's also a product journey. So, how to orchestrate behind the scenes to make this journey successful. So, let's walk through both with real example from Tech Labs and business sprints. So, first, let's talk about what students actually go through, their student journey. And here's the thing, it's not linear at all, even though it looks like it. Because students, they start understanding the context and the problem they need to solve, and that sounds straightforward, but we know it's not. They quickly realize they need to explore solution alternatives. Perhaps they need to find more information. And they have to choose a good approach. And they always try to find the best approach and define it specifically. And they not always have all the information. So design and planning, presentation to stakeholders, and all of that in a limited number of in a limited time, which means that they don't go through these steps linearly. They iterate, they go back, they pivot, which is good because it's the best way to learn. In our tech labs, some of them have redefined their model in week 3 because they discovered that something new that mattered to their approach. And this is good because this is real problem solving, but it creates uncertainty for them especially, and also for you. And students, they don't navigate well with some of these challenges. So a lot of our job as mentors and coordinators, perhaps, it's to help them navigate this ambiguity, this uncertainty, but at the same time letting them own their discovery process. So a golden rule: you don't solve their problems, you help students solving them. So it's very important to realize that it's messy and it's iterative, and your job is not to make it linear. It's to provide structure so they can handle that messiness. So how does this work in practice? This comes from our Impact Tech Labs. We have a 5-week approach. Week 1 is exploration and problem definition. Week 2 is about high-level business search for solutions. And then from 3 to 5, they like zero in a solution, and they move towards implementation to validate and to present it. But through these 5 weeks, they have certain support for that journey of uncertainty. They have lots of courses, and they have mentoring sessions, and they have some other expert sessions as well. So there's available support. We also run cadence sessions for them to know exactly what they are expected to do in that week. It's not that they have to do it, but that they are expected to do it, and they know where support is available. And this is not just the 5 weeks. Sometimes you have to start even before. So you need to make sure that they understand the whole journey and which steps will you make in each of them. And for example, at the beginning of the journey, before the lab, we know that they are occupied in other things. So we just give them tools to work better as a team and the challenge itself, but they don't start working on the challenge, and they are extremely focused on that. We have another approach from EMBA Business Sprints, and it's a different one because they are working at the same as learning and learning in another task sometime. So we help them by showing them a clear cadence with 5 phases, with the tools that they can use to navigate. And we have connections every week to discuss with mentors and customers, and with an outcome. Usually with their customers, they validate their progress. With their mentors, they show the outcome that they have done so far. This outcome is not a formal deliverable. It's an anchor to ensure that they progress. And this cadence shared before the new sprint, it helps them to navigate the uncertainty, and it helps them to learn a lot. I also can come with another third example. This one comes from GX, in which they have a project in which they have a customer, and we treat it as a project-based learning as well. And here we start from the very end, knowing what they have to deliver, and then from that on, with that idea, we explain them the process to get that. We have a clear explanation of what happens every week. We have a clear explanation of where they have classes, plus teamwork, plus client meetings, plus deliverables. And that it's an iterative approach so that they end up with a good way to understand where they will have things happening and where they are expected to work themselves. Each phase has specific objectives, tools they need to use, clear outcomes. They can validate, but it's very important that here they have a clear, defined deliverable, which is the anchor for what their progress. So what you can see is that in all of these ones, that we have a number of things. Number one, that we have to balance whenever needed, the theory and practical approximation, the practical approach. But also they have specific objectives, they have tools they can use, they have a clear outcome. They have, in some cases, client meetings and mentorship touch points built in. So they know what's going to happen in terms of progress and checkings and the balance to learning and applying. And you need to do all that and communicate so that they don't have that uncertainty on the process. They might have uncertainty on the progress and their work, but not on the process. So my recommendation, over communicate. Over communicate more than under communicate. This is how you reduce uncertainty without removing the challenge itself. Now let's talk about how to make it happen. And this is important. Your project journey needs to start months before students even see the challenge. Um, so for a 5-week project, perhaps we start 3 months in advance. For a longer project, perhaps 4 or even 6 months in advance. And why so early? It's because it's not just an assignment that you're creating. You're orchestrating multiple people. If it's only you, perhaps you can do it with less time. And if it's your first time, I highly recommend you to do it shorter time, but very clear with you alone, trying to make synthetic data or something like that. But if you're working with external companies or with external mentors, you need time to align expectations, to clarify what they what they have to provide, what they can provide, understand availability. And in some cases, we learned the hard way. In some of the sprints, we only had weeks to prepare, and because some customers perhaps they were not available at the end, and or perhaps because they had different expectations about the deliverable. So it ended up to be more challenging than what we would have liked to be the translator, that role. So my recommendation for you working on this, work to minimize you being in crisis mode. If you're in crisis mode, then bad things can happen. So try to organize it well ahead with clear things that need to happen. And and for example, what I do, I have created a plan and model, and I will share that with you in our next video, not just for students, but for all the stakeholders, so that everyone is aligned with what we have to do. So how do we end up this part? We have to end up with clear understanding for you as a professor. So how does this preparation actually look like? Well, first of all, try to understand if it's you or some more people and align all stakeholders. So on the one side, the companies need to understand that it's not a consulting project, it's a student, so it's a learning process. So they have to be realistic with expectations and also with the challenge. But also mentors need to know what to say when. And guest experts, they have to know. So whomever is involved in your project needs to be heavily aligned so that students see that there's a seamless model. Professors as well, if needed. Then communication and communication templates. Make your life easy by ensuring that you can easily communicate with everyone, teams, working groups, or email templates, or introductions, or feedback forms, or agenda templates, or whatever you think it's good for you to minimize the extra load of communication. Remember, reducing the uncertainty, it's of course for the students, but it's also for everyone around in the project. Third one is about contingency planning. You need to have a plan in case something doesn't work. So you need to have flexibility, but also backup plans. So help students and help all the other stakeholders by doing that. Evaluation is super important. Evaluation and progress, it's crucial for the students to learn. They need to know how they're progressing and they need to know if they're going in the right direction. So clear progress evaluation, clear evaluations. So that way students feel engaged and part of the project. And it needs to be on time, by the way. It's very important that feedback is on time so that they can act upon that. So for example, in the tech lab, we now ask the mentors to include that the very same day so that the discussion is fresh in minds and they can act upon that. So if you need someone to evaluate externally, clear rubrics, everyone knows the same. And finally, mentoring. Mentoring, approach yourself in charge of cadence or mentoring or external mentors. When are you going to check in and what's going to happen? And how are you going to help the students? And if it's multiple mentors, then you need to align them all. So make sure that it's clear for all of them. So I I think it's not an easy one, but a very rewarding one when things happen. I send updates to stakeholders on a weekly basis where students are, where they need to be more help, or what's going to happen this week, or which classes they're going to have this week, so that um, they know the where everyone is. So your role as a translator from the student journey and whatever needs to happen with any stakeholder, it's very important. You will be clarifying, aligning, keeping everyone on focus. But the good thing is that when it works pretty well and becomes manageable. And here's the reality. Success in these projects, it's super engaging. It requires two well-designed journeys, the journey for the students and the journey for the whole project. But that's where a lot of learning happening. Remember our 70-20, 10-20-70 rule, 70 in getting things done. So the more plan you have, the better for your students. They get real learning experiences. They get a real outcome. They talk to C-level or to experts in other organizations, but it requires a lot of preparation. So get ready for the extra work, but also the extra learning for you and the extra fun that you're going to have. Thank you very much for watching.